Good morning, everyone who all are watching us live on Facebook, and thanks for being here. My name is Ayushi Shah. I'm a student of Atharva Institutes of Management Study. I'm from PGTM SEM 1 2020 batch. I've been invited here to host a show. Our eminent speaker, Miss Reshma Mathur, will be talking on immigration fraud. I am really very inquisitive on the topic. I think the session would be more of an interactive and informative session. I guess immigration is a very big word, like everyone wants to immigrate from one country to another country. But do we really know what all challenges we have to face? Are we knowing what is the right process? Or are we in the clutches of people making fool and taking our crucial documents? So here for the same, we have invited our guest, Miss Reshma Mathur, who will give us insight on this topic. I am really very grateful and it's my pleasure to introduce Miss Reshma Mathur. So, Miss Reshma Mathur is Royal Vista Immigration, is led by Ms. Reshma Mathur is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, RCIC, and member in good standing with the Immigration Consultants of Canada, Regulatory Council, ICCRC. She's an oath commissioner, Ontario, and a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Immigration Consultants, CAPIC. She, grad, she graduated from the immigration practice as a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, RCIC. Ms. Reshma Mathur is recognized by the federal government organization, including the Department of Citizenship and Immigration Canada, CIC, the Immigration Refugee Board, IRB, and Canadian Border Service Agency, CBSA, as well as provincial and territorial government to represent and counsel the clients regarding their Canadian immigration applications. Ms. Reshma Mathur has completed the Canada course for education agents offered by ICEF, Languages Canada, and the Canadian Association of Public Schools. With the support of the Canadian Consortium for International Education, Ms. Mathur is a former teacher and counselor and was a member of Ontario College of Teachers. Ms. Reshma Mathur understands the need of families, business people, and professionals who are interested in exploring new opportunities in different countries and provide professional and personalized services through counsel and representation in all immigration and citizenship matters. Being an immigrant herself gives her a great insight and she can explain the process and empower her clients with information required to navigate the complex immigration policies. Reshma finds it rewarding to assist people in setting realistic expectations, reducing anxieties of the process, and accomplish their goals. So I am really very honored and welcoming you on the board. Ma'am, would you like to share your experience?
First of all, thank you so much. Thank you, Ayushi. You have given a very nice, detailed introduction. And so you all already know that I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, owner of Royal Vista Immigration Consultancy Firm. It's a law consultancy firm based in Ottawa, Canada. And I would like to thank everyone who has joined in today. It's a pleasure for me to be in this session with you. And I hope what we discuss here today helps people, all people who are looking to study, visit, work, or immigrate to Canada, which is one of the top destinations in the world for immigration and travel. I'm also an immigrant, and that's the reason I have a better insight about the challenges one has to go through and how this process works. So moving ahead, there are two options: either a do-it-yourself DIY application, wherein you can submit your application on your own. The Canadian government website has all the forms and information. Or some people who find it difficult to navigate through the process, they have complicated issues, they have refusals, and it's a tedious task for them. and they want to ensure that they follow all the guidelines and they want professional assistance, then they can turn to immigration representatives. If you're looking to hire someone for immigration services, then you have to be very vigilant, and you have to make sure that you're not contacting people who are involved in fraudulent and activities and unethical practices. So we all have to be vigilant and informed, and that's exactly what we are discussing today in this question and answer session. Please share this information with your friends and family and all the people who are interested in immigrating to Canada. It'll be helpful for them. Having said that, we can begin now. And Ayushi, let's move with your first question.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Thank you. So, moving to our questions, before starting questions, I would just like our audience to, please feel free to put questions in the comment section. So, ma'am, moving to our first question, what is an immigration representative? And please tell us something about a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, RCIC. Thank you.
Sure. It's very important to know what is an RCIC and who are the authorized representatives. So immigration and citizenship representatives, they give you advice, explain the process, all the options that you have. They help you in submitting your immigration application. They communicate with the government of Canada on your behalf, and they represent you in an application on any hearing. Representatives can be legally authorized, like me, a regulated Canadian immigration consultant or a lawyer, or they can also be friends, family members, third parties, and these are all unpaid agents, like a family member or a travel agent that might help you with some application process. They are not authorized and they cannot charge you a fee. Authorized representatives can charge you a fee, and they are lawyers, they are or paralegals. They are members in good standing of a Canadian provincial or territorial law society, notaries who are members in good standing of the Chamber of Notaries of Quebec, and immigration consultants who are members in good standing with the ICCRC or Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council. Your representative can act on your behalf for immigration and citizenship applications with IRCC, which is the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or with the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada, or the CBSA, which is the Canada Border Services Agency. The unpaid representatives that I just told you about, they can be family members, travel agents, friends, third parties, but they are not authorized to charge you any fee for that. So if a travel agent tells you, you can pay me a fee and I'll get your paperwork done, that's illegal and he cannot do that. So you have to know who you are paying and who is authorized.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Uh, so, should we just move to our next question?
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah. So, is it necessary to hire someone to file any immigration application?
No, absolutely not. You do not need to hire a representative. It's completely your choice. It's at your discretion how you want to proceed with your application. If you have a lawyer or if you have a consultant, it does not mean that your application will get a special preference or you will get a guaranteed approval. If there's anyone who offers you a guaranteed approval, it's a red flag. Then you have to be aware there's no guarantee for any kind of visa approval. There is no fixed time for visa processing. Anyone who says, just give me cash, I'm going to get you a faster processing, and I will give you 100% guarantee, 100% success rate guarantee, that's all fake, because no one can give you a guarantee on that, and it's illegal to say that. For the processing time also, you can be given a timeline, maybe 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, 2 to 3 months, but no officer or visa office will give you an exact date or time for processing. There are many factors which can delay your processing, and you can get all the forms and instructions that you need to apply for a visa, a permit, citizenship for free on IRCC website. So you can just follow the instructions and you can submit your application. And like I said before, if you find the process complicated, it's difficult for you to navigate through the process, then you can hire a professional immigration consultant or a lawyer or a paralegal to help you according to what kind of case you have. We can move to the next question. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, can someone change their representative during the process?
Yes, absolutely. Your representative can be changed anytime during the process. If you're not happy with the services, or if if for some reason you want to make a change, there's an option to do so. You can definitely do that.
Okay. So, it is not like necessary that if we have a particular representative we have selected, we have to just continue. In case of any broader or something in sense of it, we can change it.
Absolutely. During the process, there's a little paperwork that needs to be done to cancel the representative, and then if you have someone else who wants to, handle the file, then it can be transferred to that another lawyer or consultant, and you can always change that. So it's not important that even if you don't want to, you have to continue with that same person till the end of the process. You can always change it.
Okay. Yeah. So, moving to the next question. If someone has an application pending for a long time and the representative has no answer for them, or if they have filed it on their own, is there a way to find out what's going on? Can this help if their case has been refused?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a very interesting question because there are many people who file their application and sometimes it exceeds the processing time and they get very impatient. They don't know what to do. They have no answers and they keep waiting. And that's very worrisome. And it's very difficult to just keep on waiting without knowing what's wrong with your application, why it's not moving forward. So yes, you can certainly find out by submitting a web form inquiry, or there is another service which is called ATIP, which means it's the Access to Information and Privacy Act, which is a law that allows people to have access to Canadian government documents. Whether it's the GCMS notes, which is Global Case Management System, or ATIP, it's the same thing, which is actually officers use this to store and manage immigration files. So whether your application is in process or if it's been refused, if the expected processing time has passed and you don't have answers, you have no updates for your pending case, you want to find out what's going on through the officer's notes, and you can clearly find out what are the concerns in the application once you file this ATIP request. To get these officers notes, you have to place this ATIP request through people who are either Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or Canadian corporations. So it can be done only by people who are currently in Canada. And you can submit it through your family or friends. If they are in Canada, they can help you in doing so. If you don't fall into any of these categories, you cannot do it, then you have to take help from a professional like me who can file it on your behalf.
Okay, thank you. That's wonderful. So, should we just move to our next question?
Yes, absolutely.
So, many people are immigrating to Canada at an astonishing rate, and many of them fall prey to fraudulent agents in different countries. Any advice you want to give to aspiring immigrants? Please tell us something about immigration fraud, and does it target only those who are outside Canada or inside as well?
Yes, Ayushi, you're right. Many people are looking for options, for opportunities to immigrate to Canada, even to visit Canada, to study in Canada. And some of them file their application on their own. Some of them contact agents and companies. Most are authorized, most are legal representatives, but there are many agents and companies which are not authorized to do this work. So don't be a victim of a scam, whether you are inside or outside Canada. You can see many companies advertising 100% visa guarantee, fast processing. They also say pay us after the visa approval. They advertise there's 100% guarantee, don't pay us now, just pay us once your work is done. And this is called contingency billing, which is also not allowed, it's illegal. All these claims are all false, and no one can guarantee you a job or a visa to Canada. It's only the immigration officers, it's only the Canadian Embassy, high commissions, and consulates that can decide to issue a visa. And processing fees is also same for all services in Canada and around the world. It's not that you'll be charged a different fee in India, you'll be charged a different fee in Canada. It's in Canadian currency, but it's the same anywhere in the world. You also have to remember that IRCC employees will never ask you to deposit money into a personal bank account, and they will never threaten you. They will never offer you any special deals if you want to immigrate to Canada. So if you come across any people who are offering you some special deals, and those kinds of ads where they give you guarantees, then don't deal with such people. They are only trying to cheat you. And the authorized, the Canadian government website will not use free email services like Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo Mail. They will not use these to contact you. You can also find free application forms and guides for all services on their website. So it's good to be aware of how exactly the process works, what kind of application forms are there, what is the fee. You yourself have to be aware and not just rely on what someone else is telling you. And then there is no fee for application forms. They're all free. Somebody asks you to pay for them, that's wrong. Another thing to be aware of is that there are many fake websites, and there are many internet scams. Criminals can copy a real website, and they build a website which looks very real. It's made in such a professional way, and they portray themselves as official Government of Canada site or their partners. Some of them will offer you, good deals, guaranteed high-paying jobs. This is just to trick people so that you can pay them. There are many websites that will take your personal information. They'll steal your identity. And again, I want to emphasize on fast processing and guaranteed approval claims. These are all false. Never trust people who make such claims. Your browser filters can also help you detect fake websites. If you are in doubt, then just contact the website owner. Always verify, always make sure that you are contacting the right person. Sometimes you will also see that there are many agents in different countries who will say, we work with such and such RCIC, we are associated with this lawyer, this person is our partner, we are all together. You can also see the official logos on their website, like RCIC, ICCRC. You see those, but do not trust them like that. You must verify about the person they are talking to, and see that whether these claims are true or not. Call that RCIC, call that lawyer, find out, verify if this person actually is your agent, if he works with you. And always it's good to verify. Don't just trust them like that. Just because you see the logo there, it doesn't mean he's working with someone. Another thing is, I would like to share that right now I don't have any agent in any country. I'm just trying to build my trusted partners in different parts of the world. But this thing happened with me also. Someone called me from India on WhatsApp and asked about a company. They asked me if it's okay to pay this person, and because he is saying that he works with me, he's my partner, and they wanted to pay him for some immigration processing, for some file. I was flabbergasted. I was like shocked to hear that, because I don't have any such agent. And they sent me some pictures showing that this is the person and he claims to be your partner. So I immediately told them, I warned them not to pay him a single penny, and it was good that they called me. They were wise enough to take that step and take that initiative to find out and verify whether this information is correct or not. And I was able to tell them that it's not true. So they didn't pay him, and I reported this. I took an action here, and I reported this to the authorities here and to the department here, so that some action can be taken against that person. So all of us have to be very vigilant. All of us have to be aware of what's going on. You may also get an email that looks like it's from maybe from Government of Canada, asking for your date of birth, your passwords, your credit card details. It will take you to a fake website. It'll link you to a fake website and steal your identity. Don't ever click on those links. Don't give any personal information about yourself. If you have any doubt, always verify, check the identity of the sender. Don't just click on it. Don't just provide your information. There are also telephone scams. Remember, IRCC will never call you asking for any payments or asking for money. They may contact you by phone sometimes regarding your, regarding the processing of your application, or maybe for some documents, but they will not ask you for any sort of payment or money, that you have to pay online. On the phone, they won't do that. They will never be aggressive. They will never threaten you. They will never threaten you to arrest you or to deport you. If you're inside Canada, many students and many other immigrants have, newcomers have received such calls, and they were scared. They didn't know what to do. Some of them even paid them, which was wrong. So you should just hang up, find out, who called you, and report it to the authorities, because this department never, does these kind of actions. So you have to be aware. Even if the website seems very secure to you, you think that it's okay, to provide your information, still be cautious, still be vigilant. And if you cannot reach anyone listed in that website's contact information, you cannot verify the representative's credentials, then just don't move ahead. Don't provide any information. These fraudsters, they use your information. They, they reuse documents, and they ask you for payments mostly in cash. Asking for only cash is also a big red flag. Don't ever sign blank application forms. Be careful of anything that sounds too good to be true. Beware of representatives who encourage you to, write any false information in the application. It's all against law, and you can be denied entry into Canada. You can also be deported after you arrive if you put in all, wrong, false information. The processing fees are all, like I explained earlier, they're all in Canadian dollars. It's the same all around the world. So it's not that someone will ask you $600 for something in India and it's $200 here. It's not like that. It's the same everywhere. And so just beware. There are many kinds of scams and frauds going on everywhere in, when we talk about immigration. So I hope it was helpful, and it'll make you aware of what's going on.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for sharing this information. Hopefully, it will be, very useful to us, to be aware, to be vigilant in what we do while sharing our documents. So, thank
Yeah.
you so very much, ma'am. So, should we just move to our next question?
Yes, definitely.
So, the question is, and what is misrepresentation and how it can affect anyone's application?
I'm glad you brought this up, because this is a very, very common issue now. Misrepresentation occurs when information is provided to IRCC, or Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or to Canada Border Services Agency, or the CBSA, information which is inaccurate, inconsistent, or incomplete. So that is misrepresentation, and it's a very serious crime. to lie and send false information and documents to immigration department. And this is called misrepresentation. It can include many things like document fraud, um, false documents, altered documents, even passports and travel documents. All this can lead to very serious consequences. And this misrepresentation can be intentional, or it can be an innocent mistake. But remember, even if it was an innocent mistake, the immigration officer will not say, it's okay, it was very innocent of you to make such an error. I understand, it's okay, and I'm going to forgive you. So let's just forget this and move on with your application. It doesn't work like that. Your application may be rejected, you may be banned for 5 years, and it means that you can neither apply for any visa, you cannot enter Canada. Deliberately lying or providing false documents are obviously wrong. They are wrong. I mean, if you're submitting wrong, false information, it's wrong. But another kind of wrong action is deliberate withholding of information. Like, I know something about myself, I have to put it in the application, but I'm not presenting it. I'm just trying to withhold that information. That is also misrepresentation. Failure to examples of, like, material misrepresentation is failure to declare that you have been refused visa for another country. If you think they will not come to know, I can just say maybe you applied for a US visa, it was refused, and you would write there, no, it wasn't refused. That's a misrepresentation. Providing a document that's not genuine. If you don't mention a family member in your application, that's also a misrepresentation. If the
Extremely sorry, ma'am. Due to some technical error, it just went. So we'll just continue from where we left behind. So yeah, ma'am. So do you want me to read the question again and read it?
no, that's okay, and
So extremely
uh,
sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. We can just continue wherever we stopped. We were talking about misrepresentation, and we were discussing that it can be intentional or it can be indirect. It can be innocent. It can be an innocent mistake. Regardless of innocent or not innocent, both are misrepresentation. And like I said, the officer will never say it's okay, it was very innocent of you to put that, do such an error, and it's okay, I forgive you. He's not going to say that. It will still be considered a misrepresentation, and because of which your application may be rejected. You may be banned for 5 years, which means you can neither apply for any visa and you cannot enter Canada. Deliberately lying, providing false information, false documents, it's obviously wrong. And deliberately withholding any information, something that you know uh, might result in a refusal, something that you just withhold and you do not, release that information, you do not share that information, that is also wrong. So not just presenting false information, but withholding information is also misrepresentation. Failure to declare that you have been refused a visa of another country, providing a document that is not genuine. If you do not mention any family member on your application, if you engage in a fake marriage, uh, marriage which is not genuine, just on papers, just to come to Canada, you enter into some kind of agreement, some kind of a contract, which can bring you to Canada. That is also a misrepresentation. That is also, it's kind of a fraud. Uh, Maybe you submitted some application in the past, and now the present one has a different information about you. Maybe your name, date of birth, the relationship, everything that you mentioned in your previous application has different information, and the present one has entirely different information. That is also misrepresentation. Then there are some things which are innocent, like reversing the dates. Like instead of the month, the year is first, or instead of the date of birth, you put in the month first. That is something innocent. Or indicating that you are single if you are widowed. That is not, that's like a serious misrepresentation. Um, Another thing is, if you provide all the correct and consistent information on several forms, on multiple forms, except one. So probably your intention was not to lie and not to put in any false information, and an explanation can be given to the officer for that. It can also turn out to be incomplete, incorrect because of some facts. So being found inadmissible to Canada because of misrepresentation, it's becoming very common. But it's a very serious issue, and it can result in being banned for 5 years for making any kind of application to come to Canada. And even your family members, all those who were applying with you, all those will be considered in the same thing. Even they will be banned. Even they cannot apply. Before you are found to have misrepresentative yourself by IRCC, you are given an opportunity to respond, which is called procedural fairness, where you can explain, where you can respond, you can provide all the supporting documents. You are given a timeline to explain everything in this, and that's where you can, that's the only opportunity you get for an explanation. That's called procedural fairness. So misrepresentation, it can have a very significant impact on your immigration status to Canada. All your dependent family members, your spouse, your children, they will all be found inadmissible to Canada, which will prevent any of them from obtaining any kind of temporary or permanent resident visa for Canada. And of course, a 5-year ban that I just told you. So it's a very serious issue.
Okay.
We can move to the next to your next question. Yeah.
Next question. So, as I am from the IT field, and it is really interesting how the technology, information technology works. So would you just what are the roles that information technology plays in your work, and could you just help us describing it?
Yes, that's very interesting, and it's related to your field of study, which is IT. And as we all know, that IT is everywhere, and it's changing the world, changing how we function. Especially during this pandemic, uh, we have all seen the crucial role it has played in tackling the disruption. It's helped in challenging situations of making the shift to remote working from home, which many of us have switched to. I'm one of them, and we have all we have tried to figure out how we can use technology to keep continuing what we were doing. um, Businesses, healthcare, hospitals, all of them have like digital tools, and it has also helped in creating alternative learning pathways through online learning. So IT plays a very vital role in all aspects of life. Even in the immigration department, it plays a very crucial role, from sharing information to managing it. Each year, the immigration department, and I'm not just talking about Canada, whether it's USA or New Zealand or Australia, anywhere in the world, the immigration department receives millions of applications, which may include temporary residence, permanent residence, like study permit, visitor visas, skilled worker applications, investor visa, employment authorization. There are different kinds of applications. If I talk about immigration, Canadian immigration, there are more than 400 kinds of forms. There are so many, pathways, more than 100 pathways, streams to immigrate to Canada. So you can imagine there's, a lot of paperwork would be involved if it wasn't for IT. That helps. So technology helps in storing the electronic files instead of keeping millions of paper records. And so, giving the access to these digitized electronic files makes work much easier. Government of Canada is also making a digital shift to becoming more agile, open, and user focused, ensuring that integrity and security are the top priorities in processing the applications. It also results in faster processing, of course. After this COVID, Canada is also expecting a significant surge in immigration applications once the travel restrictions are removed. There are many people who will be applying, many people who will be moving, relocating. So these digital tools can help address social distancing requirements also by reducing the need for in-person meetings. So here the citizenship ceremonies, citizenship approvals are now there. Everything is taken, being switched to online. So everything is online now, whether it's citizenship applications, testing, many instead of doing the paperwork, it's all online now. And this not only protects the safety of IRCC and public, but it also results in efficient and faster processing. It helps lawyers and regulated Canadian immigration consultants like me to make their work easier and more efficient. We use case management software, and because managing clients is it's a very important part in any kind of business, and these digital tools help us in managing it efficiently and much more in a much more easier way. It helps automate more, and we have to spend less time on repeatable tasks. um, and it also increases productivity, because if I keep doing the same thing over and over again, if I don't have access to such tools, then I'll be spending more time on that. So it also increases productivity. And it's for collecting payment, billing, invoicing, it becomes very easy with when you use a case management software. Clients can access their invoices, they can make payments, they can submit documents, data can be transferred in various forms. So it saves everyone's times, and it speeds up the entire process. We can share, we can securely save the documents regardless of the time zone or the geographic location. It's easy to handle your file. You can work from anywhere. For example, I use software called Officio, and it helps me a lot. It's something that automates and integrates every aspect of your immigration practice, from managing your clients to their billing, linking applications, filling the forms, reminders, notes, documents, the trust account. Basically, helps me everywhere. So the importance of technology. It's there in processing the immigration applications also, and even those who are working. It helps us both.
Correct. So, ma'am, moving to our final question. Um, so, as we all know that you are a former teacher and a counselor, as an immigration profession, do you also help in international student counseling and students recruitment as well?
Yes, I do. I help them as a certified Canada course education agent. I help them in understanding why Canada is top study destinations in the world. I tell them about all the study options available, all the costs that are associated in applying for their study permit, how to best prepare if they are looking to study in Canada or live in Canada. And students, international students who study in Canada, they can also apply for Canadian permanent resident status while they are studying in Canada, or after they complete their study program. If they study in Canada, their CRS score, comprehensive ranking score, also improves. because they gain Canadian work experience, they have Canadian education, it gives them better score, better points. And so basically from study permit to citizenship, right in the, the last process, our firm helps them in all stages of their journey towards Canadian permanent residence. Canada is currently number one best country for quality of life, and also it's recognized worldwide for outstanding quality of education with safe, diverse, and multicultural environment. So yes, definitely I help them. I help them right from their first step throughout their journey.
It was wonderful, ma'am, having you on board. Do you want to share something? If yes, yeah, you could.
Uh, I think that's about it. We have touched quite a few topics here, and I hope it helps students like you. There are many who must be planning to immigrate to Canada or study in Canada, and we can definitely have another session if possible, and discuss few more issues. If if there's any concerns, or you have any more questions, we can definitely do it in the next session. But I would like to thank Athar Institute of Management Studies and Ms. Shubhi Agarwal for inviting me and for allowing me to share this information, which can help the aspiring immigrants, and it can bring more awareness to prevent ourselves from immigration fraud. Thank you so much, Ayushi. It was a wonderful session with you. Viewers can also contact me through my website, royalvistaimmigration.com. You can connect with me through WhatsApp or Facebook also. And if you have any immigration concerns, please contact me. And I'm very grateful to be here today. It was lovely being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. I just want to thank you from bottom of my heart, to share your valuable time, your experience, and it will help us somewhere, uh, you know, and like on a broader aspect, you made us understand what all things are required if we want to immigrate from one place to another. So, ma'am, I'm really very grateful for joining us to have you on our board, and we are looking forward for another wonderful session with you. And I'm also very much thanking from core of my heart our Executive President Shri Sunil Rane Sir, Atharva Group of Institutes, Dr. R.J. Ranawat, Director AIMS, and Dr. Shubhilal Agrawal, Internal Quality Assurance Cell. I am very grateful to AIMS for giving me this opportunity to have a able talk with you, ma'am. It was so wonderful. And thank you everyone for joining us live. Stay tuned for another IT talk and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.